presentation. And you should be there with that. One of the things that Cedric didn't have a hard brief, because the introduction and in fact the trigger for this came from Cedric's head, Kate, when she had been to a conference a couple of years ago, and I think there was a 400-page document which you're going to refer to, which was the trigger for this work. So Cedric, without further ado, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, you can see my screen. Okay. All right. So my name is Cedric Bescont. I'm head of engineering and data sciences at Bimbo Ladies College. I'm working with Nikki. But at the heart, I'm a teacher, and more specifically a physics teacher. And what I try to do in my work is to discover students, and I find, especially in a girls' school, it's the first time I'm teaching in a girls' school, and I found it quite challenging, because girls are very discreet, especially when they're very smart. It's quite the opposite of boys. And so it's they're actually the very smart, intelligent girls to become women are very discreet, and it's like they don't let them being public. And so I chose this image to start my presentation, because we've got a magnificent jacaranda tree in our ground, and since I've seen it, for me it's always it's like a metaphor of innovation in school. It has to be grounded in tradition. We need strong academics, but to blossom, we need to be able to search for new ways to stay relevant. And I like the image of the girl meditating under the tree, because for me it represents maybe the healthy and unique relationship between a girl and a school that will allow her to face her complex future, or the complexity of the world. And talking about complexity of the world, I think the enormous amount of data that we're collecting every day is actually a reflection of how complex our world has become, or how complex we made it. And so that's with this idea of discovering new students and being relevant that I started my journey into developing a data science curriculum at Bimbo Ladies College. And really it started with me teaching the science extension subject, which is a subject the student can choose in their final year. And it's they do a major work during this year, basically a real scientific research. And so they in this syllabus there was a new focus on data science, on the ability to not only collect data in very controlled ways that we call experiment usually in school, but rather to find trends and patterns in massive data sets, such as the one produced by the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, or by the Weather telescope that had just been launched, or by the Genome project. And so basically I realized that I was not relevant anymore as a science teacher if I didn't skill up myself and learn to statistics and learn to be able to teach students how to infer knowledge from big data sets. So that was my first realization, that I was not relevant anymore. So I needed, which is always good, because that means you need to go back and learn. And just to give you an idea before I keep going on what data science is, basically data is anything that has been recorded. And why it becomes a thing is because technology has made such improvement in both recording and storing that now we can collect large, massive amount of data. And the real challenge, the challenge used to be to collect data and to record data and to store data in the 19th century, 20th century. But now the real challenge is to discover meaning, to transform this, we call it whatever, into scientific knowledge. And the only way to do it is to do it with statistics. And you can see here, what we see on the screen is what is called the data cycle. And basically it's what you have to do each time you want to transform data into knowledge. You have to, first of all, to find the data and maybe to produce it yourself. You have to consider it, you have to question it, to transform it, to visualize it, to analyze, interpret, test, model, and eventually to train it to make prediction. And then you've got AI. AI, the big scary thing that is, going to replace us all. If you do data science, I think if you're a data science apprentice, if you're a student in my classes, I don't think you're really worried about AI, because you know that a computer can't think. You know that that machine learning is just about calculating probabilities, and so you know that you still have a lot of value as a human. So I think in terms of citizenship as well, it's important to teach students data science, because if they're not able to go beyond the screen to understand how all this information is produced, they can be manipulated. I think it's going to be much harder to manipulate the data science students from pinball than the average student. Once again, data. Tara Murphy, that we see here on the right, who is an astronomer at the University of Sydney. We met her, and the quote I put here is, "Data is the way she sees the universe." That means that through the data that is collected from a telescope, she has to be able to analyze it to really do a job of discovering and making scientific research. And on the left here, we've got Sarah Romanes, who is a student in statistics, and she expressed to us that she was really it really helped her to do data science in undergraduate, but she wishes she would have studied earlier. She wishes that she would have been equipped at university, because most of the time when students start a scientific degree at university, teachers expect that they will pick up data science, that they will actually already be data scientists. So that's the second stage, by connecting with professional in the industry, by academics, and with students at university. I realized that there was a need for us to start teaching data science at high school. And so I looked for ways to do it, and I created a data science squad. So that was my squad 2 years ago. And here they were not always that happy in class. But here, so we're talking about very discreet students, right? And here they're obviously not discreet. They're expressing their joy because they just won the IBM Macquarie University AI challenge. And so it was before all this AI buzz. And so they actually trained an AI to recognize a plastic that could be recycled. And so just with a webcam, someone in front of a bin who didn't know where to put the plastic could just pass the bottle in front of the camera, and the AI will let her know where she should put So when they won, they were so happy. And actually, when I'm going back to the discovery of the students, it was during COVID, so they did all this doing through out of school through Teams meeting. And on the first team meeting, I knew they would win. They would win. I knew it. They were so able to organize themselves, so able to express their ideas. And so all I did to help them is I knew when the meeting were, and I would just drop. So they knew I could drop in the meetings. I would just drop in the meeting for 10 minutes and give them maybe 5 minutes of advice, and that was it. And they conducted this project by themselves. So once again, it was about opening the opportunity. And when the opportunity is here, they don't need me anymore. And that's actually the feeling I have in teaching data science, in contrast with physics, is I'm not the expert in the room. And most of the time, the students, they don't really need me. They learn by themselves, but I'm here to offer the opportunity. And so talking about opportunities, as you mentioned, Ian, I in parallel, when I offered I offered the lunchtime for this data science squad, I talked about it with our deputy principal, Justin Raymond, and he said, "Oh, why don't you just open a team chat and we invite the executive and see what if there could be an opportunity for data science at the school. And then a few days later, our principal, Dr. Kedadwin, dropped this message on Team. And so it was just before the holidays. And I think because I was already in the need of it, I actually read it because no one else picked it up. So I picked it up, and it's a 400 pages document. And in it, I discovered, so it's a work done by UCLA. It's called Introduction to Data Science. It's a full-on statistical course, but it's hands-on, it's minds-on, it's computer-on. And so the students don't really know they're learning statistics. What they feel that they're learning is a new R coding language, a new coding language which is called R. I'm not a coder myself. I've never heard about this language before, but I got really interested. For me, it was a new pedagogical field that was opening, and so I knew I would have the support of Kate because she's the one who dropped it. And so very quickly I contacted Sian Machado, who was the director of this program, and really quickly it was obvious that it would be possible for us to be trained to teach this program, and for UCLA to support us, and for Pimble and UCLA to sign a partnership to offer data science. So, but before that, I needed to skill myself in R. And so I went online and during COVID, and I spent hours teaching myself how to code in R. And on the left, you can see me playing with my skills and doing a race at the time of the country winning the sad race of infection. And what I discovered doing this is that there is a new way to learn online. There is a new way to actually skill yourself up by finding your own teacher, by finding your own resources, and by setting your own goals. And I thought it would be good to transfer this in the classroom if we had the opportunity to actually develop our own data science curriculum. And one thing as well that I found online is that when you learn online, the assessment is always really kind compared to the assessment at school. And I thought, okay, that has to be one of my principles when I'm going to develop the curriculum. Is the assessment has to feel good. They can't feel like they're failing. They can't feel like they're isolated. So that was one of the principles. I'll come back to this later. And so really quickly, because of the support of our principal, we were able to start the curriculum. In year 9 and 10, we have currently what is called a 200 hours elective. So 100 hours in year 9 and 100 hours in year 10. And that's a direct implementation of the IDS UCLA curriculum. And on top of this, we've got a 100 hours elective that has been designed by teachers that were in my team and were not convinced by teaching R coding language. And so to keep them in my team, Marjan Wynn, who is my mentor and who helped me a lot in being a leader, which was actually the main challenge for me, and helped me to actually broaden the vision and maybe what was putting everybody on board. And so to keep my team, I let them actually design their own course. So the 100 hours elective is more data awareness than really data science. And then I had as well, I wanted to, because it was to get the student ready for university and as well to prepare them for the data science course. I felt that we were missing something in year 11. And so thanks to the amazing communication skills from Jack Basket, our director of learning, sorry. We managed to get an endorsement for a year 11 course, and here I had blank canvas. I could do whatever I wanted, and that was really exciting. And here, just to show you, you've got a bottom right that this is the year 11 class working with that was an amazing group, and they're actually showing their favorite teacher, who is their English teacher. So he was just passing, and they were just so excited about what they were doing that they called him and asking to come to show their work. And here we can see the whole cohort working at the Microsoft Office. So they spend a whole day to actually not only learn about data science, but most of the time to share their own findings with a data scientist at Microsoft. So that was a very exciting day. And here you can see the type on the bottom left, the type of visualization they can produce. to try to find meanings in data. And on the top right here, you can see student. I don't know if you know anything about statistics, but this is actually a year 10 student work, and it's showing her ability to check if the female in the Titanic were younger than the male. She actually go and check the observation of the Titanic, which is in red, and she's comparing it with a shuffle data, so as if you have had 500 other Titanic all crashing at the same time, but where there would be no difference in age, but just randomly there could be some, right? And so she's comparing distribution with a single observation, and basically trying to evaluate the probability for this to occur if there was no difference. And this is a statistical inferential statistic at the highest level. It's maybe first year, second year, or even third year of uni. But the students, because they learn all this through coding, they don't realize it. She actually doesn't even know she's that good. She's always, as all the girls at Kimball, always stress that she's not perfect. But this is, so I have to keep reassuring them that what they're doing is just blow my mind every time, that they're already way better than me. And they're actually really comfortable to be way better than a man. So I think that's a good news. I think that's a win in a girls' school. And one of the best quotes that was made by Senu, who is here at the bottom right here, is when Dr. Adwin came into our year 11 class, she asked, so why do you like data science? I said, oh yeah, it's the best class. We love it so much. And she asked why, and Senu said, oh, because it feels safe to be frustrated. And for me, that was a big win. And I think it comes from the fact that there's coding involved. Because in all learning, you all know that you have to go through the learning dip. And so you can feel the needs, you can set your goals, but it's always quite scary to grow, because first of all, you have to fall into the learning dip and to figure out how to climb back. But when you have done it once and you get the satisfaction and the recognition, it gives you more confidence. And in a data science class, you do it 50 times a lesson. So this incremental, and it really get the students, the girls, used to the fact that they're not perfect, used to the fact that they're failing, but used to the fact as well that they know how to figure it out to get out of the dip. And it builds the confidence, it builds the self-efficacy. They're happy to share their weakness, they're happy to seek feedback, they're happy to help others, and it creates wonderful interaction in the classroom. But for me, my real challenge, and why I think the Brightfield program was useful to me, and especially to be mentored by Marjan, was when it was time for me to lead. First of all, because I don't think I've ever been a leader. I was a pedagogical consultant for many years in the French system, and so I'm used to train teachers, but I don't think I've ever led a program. And in the team, because data science was supported by Kate, and because it became so popular, we had 100 students. The parents there was massive buzz with the parents, because they do understand the need for data science. Well, suddenly in my team, I didn't have only teachers, so my colleague Glenn, a physics teacher, or Kathy Jackson, a math teacher, but I had a head of science, Christy Spence, and Anthony England and Kim Maxibovich, directors. And so I had to learn how to lead by leading directors. And that was a real challenge. And actually, the two directors are the two that have their own elective 100 hours now. So it was hard for me, because I think for me it was very easy to have a vision. It was very easy to understand how I could offer a design learning opportunity to students, because I'm a teacher. But then to go to the next level, which is trying to impact the school at a broader level by trying to get a team behind me, I have to say it was challenging, and it's still challenging. And the tools that have helped me, one of them is the stakeholder matrix. So Marjan shared that with me, and basically the idea is to identify the stakeholders and to try to position them. You can. That's one example, right? And you try to position them in this matrix in reference of their interest and the power they have in helping you moving forward. And both the interest and the power can change over time. But what is interesting is to understand where they sit at a given point, and as well to understand is at this given point they are supportive to your vision, they are resistant or neutral or just unaware. And for me, and Marjan helped me to actually develop communication channels to try to move people from being unaware to neutral, or unaware to supportive, or resistant to supportive. And she really helped me to be a better communicator, even if I'm still struggling with it, and to try to better understand what people wanted from this project, and trying to either help them to move into my direction or sometimes change my own vision in order to embrace everyone and to have the whole school hopefully now behind this project. And I'm gonna finish on this, another really helpful tool was this one. And so this metaphor of the bus and who's driving the bus, and what do you do when the shit hit the van, and what are the expectations, and so I'm still working a lot with this framework, and to be honest, I'm not sure I'm the driver still. so it's no, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's really so. It always it's still a challenge for me. It's still a learning curve. But I know what I know is the student like it. I know I'm discovering amazing students, and I know I'm developing skills in me as a leader. But I have to admit to it, and on this, I'm not sure I'll be a leader in the future. I think I'm much more comfortable being a teacher than being a leader. I realize that that leading takes away a lot of the magic. That's it for me today. Yeah.
Cedric, thank you. It's interesting. You talk about the difference between a teacher and a leader, and I actually reckon that as the husband of a former teacher, there's an awful lot of leadership in teaching that goes unacknowledged and unrecognized. One of the things we talked about in the first book was the quality of teaching skills by comparison with other industries. And a gentleman called John Cridland, who used to run a big sort of employers organization called the Confederation of British Industry over here, said that, you know, when he was looking at the people that he was mentoring, that they had got leadership skills that were in many cases in excess of those in industry of people who were calling themselves leaders, but just because they didn't have any other context, didn't sort of see that. I'm going to, Elizabeth, did you have a question you wanted to pose to Cedric before we move on, or Gemma? Just checking. Or Lauren, or anybody?
Am I unmuted? Yeah, Cedric, yeah. Other teachers, did they hear your story, like within your school? So you had the people that came along with you, but like other teachers seeing that you as a teacher going, aha, I've got this idea, and then stepping in and taking that initiative into leadership.
Yeah, it's actually, it has been a challenge as well to be visible.
Mm.
And because the visibility was for example, I give you an example. The start of the when I was made head of data science. It was not really a leadership; it was like a title. No, that's true. And at the beginning of when we started, there was a big launch, the data science for launching the curriculum. And my vision was it should have been really student centered, and we should have invented teachers, and it should have been about teachers and student relationship. But it was about marketing.
Yeah.
And it was a big IT. It was called the data science IT, organized by directors. And I didn't even have I didn't say anything during, you know what I mean? I was not visible at all. And I think that was one of my main challenge, is to be visible. And when I was visible, it was easy for me to have people on board. But I think I don't know why it was hard to be visible, but it was a challenge.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I think your passion is part of that magic,
Yeah.
and therefore, you know, you're being so aware of the why these students could embrace and were ready for such learning, is part of the leadership drive.
But there was still a big pushback. The students, they totally understand what they should learn. All the parents understand.
Yeah.
The teacher at university understands, but at the school, there's still a pushback. And I feel it's a pushback because there is a stereotype of girls in STEM. And if you teach coding to girls, now you know that's going to be, you're not going to have an intake. And it's totally the opposite. We've got so many students at school that are so ready for STEM, and actually we are behind the curve because we still have this stereotype. And I think for STEM, it's just, and we see that pinball because there was an amazing robotics program, and there was 400 girls, and they just love it. And I think when we stop with this stereotype of girls are not going to embrace STEM, so it might not be good for I don't know what. And especially for that puts their girls in the school, because there was a dad's club at the school, and they reach out to me and they say we have to keep pushing for those type of things. And so the dad are really pushing for this, are really pushing for their daughters to have those opportunities because they know their daughters are ready. And I've got some, but I'm talking of amazing students in my class, like in 1, 2, 3 years, just rocket at a level that I can't achieve. I can keep working and won't achieve it. Yeah.
And I think at Pinball, just talking through Cedric's mic, you know, it's a huge school and a really busy school, and it's really, there's 1,000 projects on at once. And obviously I'm at Cedric's school and didn't really know. I only found out about the high tea after it had happened. So it's just one of those conundrums of education, that there are so many threads going on. And I think it's one of the big issues why we have teacher wellbeing, you know, issues with our teachers' wellbeing. It's simply too difficult for them they're kind of pulled by wild horses in all kinds of directions. And it's an exciting and vibrant place to be in a school like that, but it is exhausting. And you often find out about stuff, reading it on our social media feed, and think, my God, that would have been good. I wish I'd gone to that. So way to go. But well done, Cedric. He's a gem.
One of the favourite books that I have is written by a man called Tufte, Tufte. I don't know if you've heard of him, anybody, but he writes about data and writes about graphics. And one of the powerful cases that he illustrated was that of the Challenger disaster. And the problem with the Challenger disaster was that the rocket was launched at about 28 degrees C, and the lowest successful temperature of previous launches had been something like 63 degrees. And the problem was that NASA had shown the information about the temperature buried in a sub-item because they'd actually used time as the horizontal axis rather than temperature. And so the almost inevitability of that disaster was partly caught up in the fact of that the data was blurred and the data was hidden. Tufte's books are fascinating. They're sort of coffee table books on the one hand, but they tell you an awful lot about how presentation clarity is important. And Cedric, thank you for